It's time to address the rumor. Is Patrick Kane to Dallas a real thing? And how real is it? Let's talk about it next on Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer, 105.3 The Fan, and play-by-play voice of the Chippewa Steel. Be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Shout out to you everydayers tuning in to Locked On Stars as the Dallas Stars on the road tonight to take on the Winnipeg Jets, beginning their two-game road trip, coming off a loss to the Calgary Flames. Patrick Kane, a Dallas Star. How do you like the sound of that, Stars fans? Is that possible? Is this a real thing? It feels like it's gained some traction over the past 2 weeks. I have to touch on it now. We've had some new information yesterday, and it's been thrown out into the world, and I continue to think about it. What the heck? Is this really possible? So I'm going to give my thoughts on it and relay some of this information as well, and let you decide if Patrick Kane to Dallas is really, really possible. But today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. So I'm going to start by laying the groundwork here, telling you all this information that we kind of have to some degree, and then I'm going to give my thoughts on it, in my opinion. Elliot Freeman, of course, really, really great within the hockey world, one of the best journalists and all. He's got his fingerprints and everything. He does a podcast with Jeff Merrick on Sportsnet. It's called 32 Thoughts. Really, really recommend if you want to listen to anything revolving the NHL. He kind of has his hands in a little bit of everything, and they have been on this kind of Patrick Kane sweepstakes, so to speak, for a while now, and they touch on it almost every podcast, it feels like. And it came out yesterday that he heard, and I don't want to take him out of context either, he heard from someone that has a pretty good idea on things, because Patrick Kane has been really tight-lipped on everything. He doesn't want to have any leaks, as of probably most general managers in the NHL. Don't want to release anything on perhaps going after Patrick Kane, who's 35. He's coming off a hip surgery too. Of course, finished the year in New York last season with the Rangers. And he mentioned that there's some wins now of 3 teams being in the mix. It's Detroit, Florida, and Dallas. And Dallas may be a preferred destination, which I'm not totally surprised. It's a team that's going to be in the hunt for Stanley Cup. There's no doubt about that. And travel-wise, it's real easy. It's in the middle of the country, and travel can be real easy on you. And supposedly that is part of maybe what Patrick Kane is looking for. Also, the Eastern Conference is something that we've heard that he's definitely looking for. That also is a division, or a conference, I should say, that maybe is a bit easier and has a more clear path to the Stanley Cup. But is Patrick Kane looking for a destination for years? Is he looking for a home, or does he just want to be a rental someplace? That's when all those conversations come into play. But there's a few reasons why Dallas may be a preferred destination as well. And one that I thought was really interesting, and that was brought up by Jeff Merrick. He says they have 2 players in Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn that have both had similar surgeries. It took them 2 years to get back to playing the way they were expected to play. So I think that's caused the Dallas Stars to go a little bit cold on this. But it's also something that Elliot Freeman mentioned, where maybe the Dallas Stars understand what Patrick Kane can and can't do, and maybe that's why they would be interested in him. He's also mentioned that he does not believe the Stars are in on this. He thinks that they're going to go after the best possible defenseman, which is also something I think. And of course, we've been kind of touching on in the past week too, that the Dallas Stars need help. And the overwhelming majority of comments that I've received or looked online have no interest in having Patrick Kane to Dallas. So I felt like it was needed for me to come on and touch on it because I just don't know how viable this is. And I want to preface this too with it would be very cool, I guess, if Patrick Kane was a Dallas Star. It would sell a ton of jerseys and it would look cool. That's for sure. But I don't believe he fits with this team. I don't believe he fits with the vision that the Stars are trying to create because he is 35 years old. Yes, he's coming off a similar surgery that Sagan and Ben are, but Sagan and Ben were at a different stage in their career. Kane is not. At this point in his career, Kane's going to be more of a liability defensively than he has been in past. And I don't think Patrick Kane is a piece that gives you a better chance of winning a Stanley Cup at this point. Yes, he's probably going to give you an uptick in offense. At 5-on-5, how viable is he going to be? On the power play, he's going to be great. No doubt about that. And he's a world-class player and a world-class talent. If this was 5 years ago, it'd be a different story. And you have to talk about the mental hurdles and the gymnastics and what hoops you're going to have to jump through in order to get him a deal that he's going to want to take, and for the ability to have cap space in order to get him here too. The gymnastics that you're going to have to do to create room in order to get him to a deal that is more likely for him to take, I don't think is possible at all with the cap situation as it is. The Stars don't even have enough cap room to bring up Maverick Bourque or Logan Stankoven, who are completely tearing it up down in the AHL. So this Patrick Kane stuff to me, I think is completely just out of the realm. I don't think it's possible. I'm not going to rule it out. Who knows if Jim Nill is really thinking about this? It just doesn't seem like a viable option for Dallas. I don't think he fits into the group. And at 35, I don't think the Stars want to hitch their wagon to that. Why would you? You made your Patrick Kane decision in the offseason with Matt Duchene. You picked him up for $3 million. He's the best value in the NHL. He looks to be gelling right away. He doesn't just look, he's thriving with Sagan and Marchment. I don't know where you put Patrick Kane into the lineup, and it just doesn't make sense. Would it be cool? Absolutely. But I know Spittin' Chicklets has brought it up too, that it would be a cool destination. And yeah, I mean, on paper, it looks great, but he doesn't make you any more of a Stanley Cup contender at this point in his career. Because what the Stars are facing issues on is defensively, forwards not tracking back. Patrick Kane is not going to be a defensive stalwart by any means at this point in his career. He's going to be more of a liability, and it's just another 35-year-old you're adding to a team that's already a bit older when you have options in the AHL. Plus, if he wants a long-term deal, Stars aren't going to give him a long-term deal. There's no way you're going to give him more than 2 years. If he wants to take a Patrick Kane or a Matt Duchene deal in like 1 year, $2 million or something like that, I mean, by all means, but it doesn't seem like that's what he's looking for. It's going to be a little bit more than that. And that's why maybe Detroit and Florida is a bit more of a nice situation, or I should say a brighter spot for him to land. I wonder what your thoughts are on it too. Please feel free to comment on what you think about Patrick Kane. Would you want him here? The overwhelming majority of comments I've seen is, no, this is stupid. The Stars need defense. This is just not possible. And look, I'm never going to rule anything out, but it just seems like it would be such a burden to try to get him here, even if it is a preferred destination. And I don't I'm not going to sit here and say it's not. I think Kane would love to come here. Why wouldn't you? A veteran group that has a chance to win a Stanley Cup, possible for you to be here for multiple years. You could jump right in. And I also want to say that I would believe it would work if he came here. Look, world-class talent is world-class talent at the end of the day. You can throw him with anybody, and he's going to be fine. And I think he'd do well here. I just don't know in the system or the style of play that the Stars want to play on a nightly basis. I just don't know with the amount of NHL-ready forwards the Stars already have, is it really going to benefit the Stars in the long run? And I don't really think it will. Especially with moves the Stars have made in the offseason, bringing in Matt Duchene and Craig Smith. They've kind of replenished their forward depth. And I don't think the Stars scoring issues are even issues. They're averaging just under 3.5 goals per game. It's similar to what they were averaging last year. And I don't think that he's a solution, is what I'll say. The Stars have problems. They need solutions. At this point, Patrick Kane is not a solution to any of those problems in order to get them closer to winning a Stanley Cup. You have to be a solution at this point for the Stars in order to bring you in. And I don't think Patrick Kane is a solution. So those are my thoughts on the whole Patrick Kane situation. I feel like it was necessary to talk about it because it's been brought up. And it's an interesting topic too. By all means, it would be really cool if Kane came to Dallas, maybe 5 years ago. I just don't know how great it would be now with a 35-year-old coming off a very hip surgery, not very, but just a hip surgery in general. Let's go ahead and move on and talk about a current Dallas Star and Wyatt Johnston, who I think's got some Patty Kane-like to him. All right, he's got a little shiftiness, and man, he's been ripping it up this season in his sophomore year. Not much of a sophomore slump. 100 career games for Wyatt Johnston. Let's touch on a bit more of him in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Sleeper. A new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. The Dallas Stars could hoist the Stanley Cup. Wyatt Johnston could score 50 goals, and you can win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests, and it is so great. You've heard me talk about it before. You can play daily fantasy NHL, NFL, NBA, the MLB when it rolls back around next summer, and all you have to do is get the Sleeper app. It's so great. It has great functionality in terms of connecting with other fans. You can play with a group of friends. Entries can be made so fast, and all you have to do is pick the studs, right? You can do the McDavids, the Crosbys, the Ovechkins, and pick more or less on Sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, save, plus, minus in a given game, and then win 100 times bet on Sleeper. You need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Stars fans. You can win 100 times you're playing money. Daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention, nail those picks, and you can start winning big. Stars fans, use promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and location availability. Alrighty, let's touch on Wyatt Johnston, who has now played 100 career games in the National Hockey League, and he shows no signs of slowing down. No sophomore slump for Wyatt Johnston, and I think it's important to reflect on what we've gotten out of the 20-year-old here in recent memory. But first, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts on Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Be sure to check that out. So Wyatt Johnston now has played 101 career games to be specific, but he touched the ice and, of course, reached the century mark against the Vegas Golden Knights last week. And I thought it would be fun to kind of take a look at this sample size for number 53, who has just been such a remarkable talent for the Dallas Stars. This is big props to the scouting department and Jim Nill for taking this guy, because he was an unknown coming in to last year, which is pretty crazy to think about too. And then, of course, burst onto the scene and has become a huge impact for the Stars, and was not only a huge impact for Dallas in the playoffs last year, but he's continuing that this season. 9 goals on the year, 19 games, 7 assists, 16 points, tied for the goal scoring lead on the Stars with his landlord, Joe Pavelski. So 33 goals, is including the 2 points against Calgary a few nights ago. 24 assists, 57 points total, and 101 career games for Wyatt Johnston. And what makes this so encouraging is he just continues to get better and better. Of course, we saw last year with each game, the confidence came, his ability to make things happen, and become a bit more confident with the puck on his stick. And he's taken an even bigger leap into this season. And he was about the only one that was making things happen in the third period, it felt like, for the Stars as a forward on Friday nights. He was putting the team on his back, trying to look for that hat trick and just provide some sort of response for the Stars, who could not find anything against Calgary in that third period. And Wyatt Johnston really was a bright spot. And I want to highlight one shift, because it was just such high level IQ. And it's no stranger that living with Joe Pavelski has certainly helped him. I should say it's no coincidence that has certainly helped him. When the Stars had the Flames hemmed in for about a minute or so, and the Johnston line was out there, his ability to just find soft spots and feel where the defense is really, really high for a player that just turned 20 years old. There's a shift where the way he's just cutting to the net, there's a chance there, hopped over his stick. He continues to curl, look for options, and then just find himself in that kind of high slot area, adapting and adjusting to how the defense is reacting to the Stars. And he gets a one-timer chance. He just puts it wide. And then his way to buy time and space for himself with the puck on his stick, buy time and space for others. And he's just always an option. He's always facing the puck. His stick is ready, looking to take the eyes away from Markstrom, become a screen, become an available option in front for a shot, but also being able to be a playmaker at the same time to dish off to one of his line mates. I think it's just so remarkable, and it's so awesome that the Stars have hit on somebody like Wyatt Johnston. I've touched on it before, of course, but I don't think you can say enough about the impact that Wyatt Johnston has had. And he's going to be a superstar at some point. And it's just so fun to watch, because now he has that burst and ability to just beat guys one-on-one. Not that he didn't have it last year, but he has a confidence now to take a little bit extra risk, and he's killing penalties. He's becoming a more well-rounded player. They throw him out there with Ben out on the PK, which, of course, the PK in general has been superb for the Stars, and he's becoming a more all-around player. His ability to kill penalties is only going to add to his stock. He's been better in the dots this year. Taking a look at some of his numbers, he's 48%, which is about 5% uptick from last season. And of course, face-offs have always been a struggle for young players. It's a bit harder to get leeway in the dot with veteran status, so to speak. Sometimes older guys will be able to cheat a bit more. So that's always something that is a little bit of a learning curve for all players in the National Hockey League. And Wyatt Johnston is certainly no stranger to that as well. But he's getting a little bit better in the dot. Him being a penalty killer, of course, he's been a menace on the power play. He's been a great addition to that second unit. And he's really been just such a steady impact, and probably the most consistent Stars forward since day one this season, which is in itself a pretty a high compliment, if you ask me, for some of the talent that the Stars have been trotting out there this season and have been able to produce. But congratulations to Wyatt Johnston, 100 career games in the National Hockey League. It's so early into his career, and I think he'll be around for a while. And if he's hanging out and living with Joe Pavelski, who knows? He may be playing till he's 40 as well. I'm sure if he gets on the Pavelski routine, whatever he's eating, whatever vitamins he's taken, Johnston should be on the same thing. And hopefully he can have just as an illustrious career as his landlord in Joe Pavelski. So I wanted to show some love to Wyatt, of course, who has just been so spectacular. Let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. Talk about a shooting star for tonight as the Dallas Stars are back in action, taking on the Winnipeg Jets, looking for a bounce back win, taking a full 2 points in Winnipeg, and we will do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Collective. If you run a solo business, Stars fans, you're an army of one, but you still need a CPA, bookkeeper, separate payroll solution, and more. Let Collective take care of the paperwork while you take care of business. Collective knows that if your business of one makes over $80,000 a year, you will find the most value from their services. Join the tens of thousands of solo entrepreneurs who have saved an average of $10,000 per year on taxes with their structure. Let Collective take care of all that paperwork so you can handle all the things that are necessary for your business. Right now, Collective is offering 1 month free and no onboarding fee when you go to collective.com/LockedOnNHL and tell them Locked On NHL sent you. That's a $550 value for free when you go to collective.com/LockedOnNHL and tell them Locked On NHL sent you. Once again, that's collective.com/LockedOnNHL and tell them Locked On NHL sent you. So who will be tonight's shooting star for the Dallas Stars on this mini 2-game road trip taking on the Winnipeg Jets, the Jeanets? Of course, Stars played Winnipeg not too long ago, picked up a win, and Winnipeg's had a good start to their year. Of course, the Stars are not atop the Central Division, unfortunately, but they are in second place with 26 points. Colorado picked up a win yesterday as they picked up their fourth straight win over the Tampa Bay Lightning and have now taken hold of first place in the Central Division. And the Jets, of course, are right behind the Dallas Stars so far this season. They've had a good start. Of course, this is mainly due to Kyle Connor. He got off to a blistering pace. He slowed down in that department a bit. Connor Hellenbach, of course, is great as well, and he'll probably be getting the nod tonight. The Stars have been great on the road this year, however, 7-1-1 away from the AAC. They were a phenomenal road team last year. I believe they were top 5 in terms of wins away from the barn, and they're on a good pace to probably match that from a year ago. So that is good news. My shooting star for Dallas tonight in Winnipeg. I'm going to go with Evgenii Dadanov. I went with him, I feel like, a month ago. And he just feels like he's due for a big night. It's been a while since he's cashed in goal-wise, just 4 goals, 4 assists in his first 19 games. He finished off the year so well a season ago after reuniting with DeBoer and then, of course, jumping on that Ben and Johnston line. I like Dadanov tonight to be the shooting star. 2 assists against Calgary as well. Hopefully he can build off that. And when Wyatt Johnston going, he's going to go as well. So give me Evgenii Dadanov. Maybe he pots a couple tonight and leads the Stars past the Jets for a victory as they come off a loss against the Calgary Flames. Little mini 2-game road trip here for the Dallas Stars. The Stars are working on back checking and tracking back yesterday in practice, which is a good sign. We'll see if Craig Smith is back as well. He missed the last 2 games with an illness. Hopefully he's back and that fourth line will reunite. Craig Smith, I've been high on him. I think he's been so effective for the Stars this season. They could use him, and they need to pick up guys. Forwards need to track back, pick up guys. the game against Calgary was up and down, a lot of odd man rushes and a lot of transition. And the Stars just weren't picking up high guys. I mean, I can count 3 goals that shouldn't have happened. If forwards just track back, take a man, and then that game's entirely different. But of course, results are results, and you move on. You move on. So November 28th, let's wrap up the month strong. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me, all you everydayers out there and first listens on the Locked On Stars podcast. Be sure to follow me on the Twitter thing at JoeyTheJet19. I'll be ready to go tonight. We will break down the game tomorrow, have a live reaction as well for you. So thank you so much for joining me on this Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy Stars hockey tonight. So long, Stars fans.